And when we speak of civil liberties and civil rights, people are beginning to understand that the most fundamental of these is the right to work in our society. And what is occurring in Guyana is that the government is making political capital out of the indefensible position of one who is either unemployed or is very close to the line of being unemployed.
I want to say to you all in no uncertain terms that this government is disrespectful to black people. And if people disrespect you, you have a right to disrespect them.
I am saying now that we have started, now that we have come together, do not sleep. Don't let us go back quietly into the night. Protest must be the order of the day.
Hello and good morning to you and welcome to this morning edition of WPA Groundings. And of course, David Hines here on behalf of the WPA. As you know, the teacher strike is on. We are entering the third day of the teacher strike, and the WPA wants to publicly express solidarity with the teachers. We want to say very clearly that the cause of the teachers is a just cause. The teachers have a right to a living wage. They have a right to a living wage. Like workers all over the country, all over the world, teachers have a right to earn enough so they can feed their family, they can clothe their families. Sisters and brothers, strike action is not easy. And unions, by their very nature, exhaust all the possibilities before they move towards a strike. And we have seen the teachers cry, we have seen the teachers beg, we have seen the teachers holler. The government has refused to meet with the teachers' union. They have reneged on their responsibility for collective bargaining. And so we in the WPA sees this action by the teacher as the last resort. The last resort. Nobody wants to strike and to prevent our children from learning. No teacher wants that. And so when teachers take the decision to go on strike, it must be serious. Because nobody loves their students more than teachers. And when the teachers decide that they are going on strike, then it's something serious. As a political party, the WPA gives solidarity to those teachers. We are not a trade union, and so we're not in the business of calling strikes. We're not meddling in the activities of trade unions. Trade unions are about workers' rights, better conditions of work, better salaries. At one level, it's industrial, but at another level, it's political. Political not in the sense of party politics, but in the sense of contestation within the political arena, especially for government workers. They're working for the government. The government is a political institution. And so if you're striking against the government, the strike is indeed political, not partisan, but political in that sense. And we want to say that the sight of workers on the streets from the Essequibo through Demerara, right down to Berbice, is a welcome sign, is a welcome sight For 3 years, we've put in the hard work of sensitizing our people, the hard work of bringing information and analysis to our people. And now we are seeing our people on the move. Our people on the move. The WPA salutes the teachers because it takes a lot of courage in the circumstances to strike against the government. A government that is flush with money, a government that is arrogant, a government that is prepared to use all the tools at the disposal of the state against its enemies. And we see the government at work here. They've deemed the strike illegal. Strikes by their very nature are legal. Workers have the right to strike. And so when you say a strike is illegal, you're really breaking new ground. You are criminalizing the workers. A strike cannot be illegal. Strikes are legal. We have a trade union recognition law that said workers have a right to organize within their unions, and their unions have a right to represent them. It's in the law. It's legal. No strike is illegal. But we see the government saying that it's war propaganda. War propaganda. The government is engaged in war propaganda against the teachers by saying that the strike is illegal. And they've proceeded. They've proceeded to tell the workers that if you strike, we are going to withhold your salary. Well, that goes against the ruling of the court. The Guyanese court just ruled that the government decision to withhold the salaries of nurses who went on strike in Linden is unconstitutional. Yet the government is proceeding in that direction. The government is proceeding by withholding union dues, refusing to collect dues on behalf of the union. It's a general practice in any country. Yet this government has decided to discontinue that act. The government has declared war on the teachers. It has declared war on the teachers. And if a government declares war on its citizens, the entire country has to rally around that group. We have to rally around the teachers because the government is at war with the teachers. It is at war with its teachers. The WPA says very clearly that we condemn such action. We feel the teachers deserve a living wage. When you take into consideration the economic growth in Guyana, the monies that we are getting from oil and gas, and when you link that to the high cost of living, the pittance that workers are getting, the pittance that teachers are getting cannot work. And to give them a 6.5% raise in salary is an insult. And so we are saying the teachers deserve better wages. We accept the recommendation from some economists that the lowest grade of teachers should earn no less than $150,000, and that's the lowest grade. And we in the Working People's Alliance says, give the workers better wages. But if we were in government, in addition to upping the wages and the salaries of the teachers, we would implement our cash transfer program, which is to take 10% of the earnings of oil each year and divide it among the 220,000 households. In that way, teachers will get a supplement on their income. Our teachers deserve better. The teachers are the cradle of the nation. So many of us, we can look back and we can point to our teachers. In many respects, our teachers were our surrogate mothers and fathers. In many regards, they did things for us that our parents could not do for us, and they continue to do so. Teachers are a special category of workers, like nurses, who save lives. Our teachers save lives. They prevent so many of us, so many of our children from going astray, from taking to the streets. They deserve better wages. There is dignity in labor. There is dignity in labor. And there is dignity in earning enough to take care of your families. So the WPA stands with the teachers in their struggle for bread and justice, because they're struggling for bread and justice. Bread as in wages, justice as in an equitable access to the resources of Guyana. These workers are suffering double jeopardy. They're suffering, the teachers are suffering because they're teachers, because they're workers. They're being denied wages because they're workers. But they're also being denied wages because they are workers who generally do not vote for the government of the day. They're generally of a particular ethnic group that does not support the government of the day. So they're suffocated as workers. They're suffocated as teachers. They're suffocated because of their political choice. And they're suffocated because of their race. Multiple jeopardy. And that is why they need our support. WPA salutes the teachers. We salute the leadership of the union for mustering the courage to stand up against this brutal and brutish government. We want to especially salute those Indian Guyanese teachers who have come out in the open and give their faces, their bodies, their names. It takes a lot of courage, because the PPP is usually brutal to their supporters who do not toe the party line. But as these brothers and sisters are saying, this issue is a bread and butter issue. Bread and butter. We want to salute our Amerindian teachers in far-flung areas, but nevertheless joining in the struggle. We want our teachers to win this, WPA stands firmly with the teachers. We issued a statement yesterday, which is carried in the media today, and we would like to share that statement with you. WPA is outraged at the brazen attempt by the PPP government to criminalize teachers who have heeded the call of the union to take industrial action in pursuit of their struggle for a living wage, and to get the government to honor its responsibilities to engage workers and their representatives in collective bargaining. The right to strike is both a sacred right and a central pillar of any democratic society. The struggle to transform Guyana and the Caribbean from colonial rule to independence was led primarily by workers organized in their unions. In that regard, our political history and culture are deeply rooted in trade unionism. WPA therefore condemns the heavy-handedness of the government towards the striking teachers. It is the worst form of neocolonialism. The worst form of neocolonialism, which ultimately can only lead to a weakening of the teachers' union and stripping the workers of their legal and legitimate right to representation. WPA has no hesitation in standing with the teachers in their exercise of their God-given and democratic right to take collective action in pursuit of their entitlement to a living wage. The teachers' case is just. They work for starvation wages in an economy of relative plenty. No decent government which is concerned with the welfare of the citizens can justify the kind of wages teachers receive. Offering the teachers increasing allowances rather than a raise of their salaries is tantamount to willful pauperization. Willful pauperization. In normal times, teachers' wages are inadequate. But that inadequacy is exaggerated by the high cost of living. WPA calls on the government to pay the teachers a just living wage. You can afford it. Pay them. It is the height of contradiction that the government can boast of exceedingly high economic growth and can unveil a $1.14 trillion budget, but refuses to pay public servants a decent and livable wage. WPA charges this government with undisguised discrimination against a category of workers who do not belong to their political constituency. While the government exhibits all the traits of an anti-worker regime, it is particularly harsh on workers who do not belong to its ethno-political base. Who do not belong to its ethno-political base. The government's charge that the teachers' strike is political is laughable. All strikes are political. But to accuse the GTU of partisan action because one of its officials is a member of parliament is the height of hypocrisy. The top official of another union, GAWU, is a PPP member of parliament. In this regard, WPA condemns the personal attacks on Sister Coretta MacDonald. All right-thinking Guyanese must rally in defense and protection of this sister. Those cowardly attacks are reminiscent of the current government's attitude to women. We know that story very well. The charge that the strike is unlawful, as I tried to explain, represents a dangerous development. The government has now arrogated unto itself the role of accuser, prosecutor, judge, and jury. This is nothing short of naked autocracy. The subsequent decisions to withhold the wages of striking workers and to discontinue deducting union dues are well-known acts of dictatorship. These shameful acts by the government have returned Guyana to the bowels of authoritarian rule. WPA wants to warn about that. It is the government that is acting unlawfully. Its refusal to engage in collective bargaining is a crime of great proportion. Its open threatening of defenseless workers with the might of the state is a high crime. High crime. WPA therefore urges all Guyanese to rally around the teachers. We call on the government to heed the union's call for arbitration as a first act of good faith. We further urge the government to cease and desist from war propaganda against the teachers. Guyana deserves better. We in the WPA affirm our party's commitment to the struggle for all Guyanese to equitable benefit from the oil and gas windfall that Guyana now enjoys. That is the statement issued by the WPA in solidarity with the teachers. The strike goes on. The struggle goes on. It's in its third day. Let us stand with those teachers. Let us give them our solidarity. They're striking in the first instance for 2 weeks. Striking is not easy in any circumstances, but under a vicious government like this, a strike is especially dangerous. And so the teachers need all our support. The WPA plans to do its fair share of mobilizing public opinion and mobilizing people to stand with the teachers. Today it's the teachers, tomorrow it will be the nurses, and the next day it will be the soldiers, and the next day it will be the housewives. There is dignity in labor. And we want the word to go out to every corner of Guyana that we are in a struggle for our lives. They say that trade unions are dead, but the teachers' union has shown that trade unions are still necessary. They're still necessary. And with God's help, with the spirits of our ancestors lingering in our midst, we shall overcome. We shall overcome because our struggle is a just struggle. All power to the teachers, all hail to the teachers. They are the heroes and heroines of our present struggle. They are leading the way. The rest of us must follow. They're leading the way. The rest of us must follow. They've put boots on the ground. They've put boots on the ground in a real way, in a tangible way. They must get what they're struggling for. The government must come to the table and bargain with the union. The government must agree to a wage for teachers that allows them to live with dignity, that allows them to do their work, to teach our children, to mold our nation, knowing that at the end of the day, that the wages that they earn will help them to prepare themselves for another day in the classroom. Guyana, we in the WPA urge you that this is a serious time. We must take nothing for granted. We must not let the threats of the government turn us back. We have come too far. We have come too far to turn back now. We cannot turn back now. We cannot turn back now. We have to keep on moving. Our date with destiny. That destiny is the freedom of our country. And freedom only exists when the people are free, when the people feel that they are free. All of our peoples. All of our peoples. We stand with the workers. We stand with the sufferers. We stand with the poor and the powerless. This struggle by the teachers is a struggle for bread and justice. A struggle for bread and justice. Let the word go forth. Let the word go forth that we are not backing down. So say the teachers, that they're not backing down. And if they're not backing down, we should not back down. Thank you all for, at short notice, I noticed there are a couple of hundreds of you on the live at short notice coming on to hear the WPA take on the strike. We are going to keep coming to you from time to time in the coming days as we keep our watch on the strike action. Keep our watch on the strike action there. Thank you all very much. And I'll see you all later on this evening on Politics 101, as usual at 7 p.m., Politics 101, and in the mornings, Buxtonian morning time at 7 a.m. So 7 a.m., Buxtonian morning time, 7 p.m., Politics 101, Politics 101. Thank you all again for coming out at short notice for this WPA Live.
When we speak of civil liberties and civil rights, people are beginning to understand that the most fundamental of these is the right to work in our society. And what is occurring in Guyana is that the government is making political capital out of the indefensible position of one who is either unemployed or is very close to the line of being unemployed.
I want to say to you all in no uncertain terms that this government is disrespectful to black people. And if people disrespect you, you have a right to disrespect them.